Congratulations on finding your matching item. At this station, we are learning about instructional strategies for differentiation of content for students with visual impairments. So some of the topics we're going to go over are lighting, seating, instructions, text, worksheets, and strategies, and then I'll give you a couple of samples of things you can use in your own classrooms. Okay. So, when teaching students with visual impairments, lighting is essential. You want to make sure you're eliminating any and all glares that could be projecting onto your whiteboard, and you want to make sure that there's no blinding lights that are coming in through the windows. So, make sure you're drawing your blinds. Also, sometimes fluorescent lights can be really harsh and distracting for students, so try and keep the lighting as soft and calming as possible while ensuring that there's still enough for students to see. Okay, seating. Students with visual impairments should always be seated at the front and center of your classroom. You want it to be in the easiest spot possible so that they can view the board without straining themselves even further. Okay, instructions. When you're giving instructions, you need to make sure that they're clear and they won't be misinterpreted. Students with visual impairments should not be subjected to interpreting any gestures or facial expressions. These students already have trouble seeing and deciphering what they're seeing, so you don't want to add any extra barriers to their education. Okay, literature. It's very handy to have modified text on hand so students aren't missing out on the same education as their peers, and these typically include things like enlarged text, bold print, and definitely making sure that there's no blurry ink or misprints or typos on these pages. Okay, worksheets for home and the class. You need to also be sure that you're modifying any class or homework for students with visual impairments. Try not to overfill or overwhelm students with unnecessary text. Make sure, again, that your text is printed clearly and dark and free of ink smudges. And if students are writing somewhere, make sure that the paper is darkly lined so that they can clearly distinguish between where they're expected to write. Okay, now some self-advocacy strategies. This is highly important for students with visual impairments and all students with disabilities. But some tips and tricks that can help them are things like limiting the time that they spend doing close-up work and taking frequent breaks. Students should always have any sort of prescribed lenses or magnifiers with them. And space. Students as a general rule of thumb, students should never put their face closer to their work than the distance between their elbow and the tips of their fingers. Okay, here's some examples of things you could modify. Here's some low vision paper with really dark lines like I talked about, and tips for modifying books, giving them enlarged print. And that's it. Hope you learned a lot.